And welcome back to the week of Who Would Win. And the beginning of the week of Who Would Win starts with Freddy versus Joker, brought to us by Ghost the Reaper, King of Videos, Lucas Rivera, and Dylan H. So first off, I'm only using the Heath Ledger Joker as a picture image that I found. It's really just the Joker in general. This is one of those fights where I'm like, you'd think it'd be pretty easy to figure it out, but I don't think it's all that simple. Because if we're talking about using fear as a tactic, Freddy is going to have a hard time here doing anything against the Joker. I mean, the Joker is Batman's nemesis after all. He is completely psychotic to the point where he's actually considered to be something beyond that, maybe even super sane, possibly even fourth wall aware. Whereas Freddy obviously is the same, and he's a dream demon. He is capable of manipulating the dream world and feeding on your fears. Being afraid of Freddy, by the way, it empowers him. Not being afraid of Freddy, it weakens him to a certain degree, but he still has all the power he has in the dream world. In the real world, he is more limited. He still has minor reality warping capabilities, but he is limited to the physicality of a person of his stature, his size. The Joker obviously is someone who goes up against Batman all day. He's the embodiment of fear. Who isn't really affected by others' toxins because of how much exposure he's had to his own his own Joker gas. Even the Scarecrow's juice doesn't really work on him, except in the game it kind of did, where he got such an overdose of it, it allowed Batman's consciousness to retake Batman's body. And that was basically the one thing the Joker actually feared was being forgotten. Even after death, no one would remember him. Or in death, no one would remember him. So that was legitimate fear he had, that like his whole legacy would just be forgotten. Other than that, though, he's not afraid of Batman, although sometimes it's depicted that he is afraid of Batman to some degree. There was a moment, though, I like that there in the Punisher versus Batman comic where Joker realized, oh no, this guy's not Batman. This guy's not trying to go by some moral compass of like keeping me alive because of justice and morality. And like, no, this guy's just going to shoot me. He's like, no. So the Joker doesn't actually want to die. Although he doesn't care if he dies, he doesn't want to die. But that's not necessarily a fear that Freddy can exploit. That said, as always, when we're dealing with a fight versus Freddy versus anyone, it's got to take place in both the real world and the dream world. Now, let's Let's deal with the real world thing first. Because that's the thing. If it starts in the dream world and gets pulled into reality, well, then we're going to deal with the real world version of this fight regardless. If the fight were to somehow get pulled into the real world, Joker is going to take him down because Freddy is really nothing all that impressive. Yeah, he's got some mild reality warping powers, but frankly, he's just another serial killer at that point with a weapon on his hand. And Joker's like, cute, you have little butter knives on your head. Little butter knives here. Here's a loaf of bread for you. And he throws a stick of dynamite at him. It just blows up in his face. And he maybe just blows him away with a gun. And Freddy, mild reality warping powers aside, would only be able to, I think, stall him out. And Joker maybe takes his hand up. No! It's like, although I have to admit, it's got a nice fit to it. Something like that would easily happen. I can still kind of do an impression even with my voice kind of gone. Meanwhile, in the dream world, that's where the ultimate question of the scenario lies. Is the Joker crazy enough, insane enough, and has the mental will enough to lucid dream to the point where he'd be able to put Freddy down? With individuals with a lot stronger willpower, whose idea is willpower, I can't say for certain. Like, for instance, I think I did Batman versus him. I do think even in the dream world, Batman would be able to beat him. Although Freddy would definitely use his parents' death against him. Batman would use that as more as motivation to move beyond that and just beat the living crap out of him. And then eventually pull him into the real world. The Joker doesn't really have one of those things that Freddy can easily exploit, But because you can still die in the dream world because of Freddy, doesn't really need it. He can just do whatever he wants, turn to a giant monster, melt into shadows, multiply himself exponentially, turn to a nuclear warhead if he wanted to. And Joker can't really do anything against those per se. But that said, Joker's got enough imagination and mental, psychosis that if he was able to lucid dream, he could actually probably keep up with almost anything Freddy threw at him. He's like, ooh, a giant Freddy. Freddy, but are you Freddy or Freddy Spaghetti? What can I say? I'm a Parks and Rec fan. Turning him into like a giant thing of meatballs, like, oh, what the? You little, and just maybe turns into like a thing of like, I don't know, tries to do like the glue trap when turning into cockroach. Oh no, I'm a terrible cockroach. Let me call the West. And Freddy like tries to squish him, only for it to, what the? Unfortunately, you know what they say about roaches, they're impossible to kill. So I could actually see in the dream world, assuming Freddy doesn't get pulled into the real world, it being a very long back and forth. To the point where Joker could possibly outlast until he wakes up. And you say, oh, what a fun dream that was. And Freddy just confounded, like, how the hell did he? So that would technically be a tie, but eventually they'd go back again. I think, honestly, the only reason Freddy would win is because the Joker... Actually, let me rephrase this. I think the only reason the Joker would win is because Freddy's imagination actually, even though he lives in the dream world and sees a lot, probably just isn't as messed up as Joker's is. Freddy's just a child murderer / pedophile. Yeah, he can have an imagination, but he's only got so much. The Joker is the Joker. I mean, for God's sake, how many creative ways did he figure out how to kill Batman and bring him back when he had the power of Batmite? For God's sake, I mean, seriously, this is a guy who's literally one of the most imaginative psychopaths in comic history, in fictional history. So I think the only reason that Freddy would actually lose in the dream world ultimately is because he would not be able to keep up with Joker's imagination. Now, this is all predicated on the idea that Joker is able to lucid dream, which, given how we see depictions of these characters, I think Joker's someone who could lucid dream if he had to. Hell, I imagine there's comics where we've seen the Joker's dreams. I just don't know them off the top of my head. But if you're going to give me if you're going to put my feet to the fire and ask me who do I think ultimately wins, in the real world, it's definitely the Joker. I think that's no question. I don't even think Freddy's going to have any immunity to, like, say, dream toxins. But if we're dealing with the dream world, it might be a really long, drawn out fight. Yeah. But I'm going to also go with the Joker. And I think it really comes down to psychosis and lack of fear that Freddy can't exploit versus an imaginative mind that he'd be able to take advantage of. But that is just my opinion. What do you think in the comments below? Let me know. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And I'll see you folks. It's weird. I lean here. It darkens, but I go over here. It brightens up. I think it's just where the I know the lights aren't on in the house right now. This is all direct natural sunlight coming into this room. Saving a buttload on electricity, that's for certain. But anyway, I digress. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you folks next time.